Hi everyone, I'm Sue and welcome to Blue Heron Hill. It's still winter out, but there's still a lot of things we can do in the gardening part of this year and getting ready. I want to talk about winter sowing. Lots of videos out there on how to and why to, but I just wanted to kind of review it with everybody. I have a link, I'll put a link up there in that upper corner on, I have a playlist of winter sowing. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about why it's such a great thing to do. Now I had some mixed reviews on it. I did one video about the pros and the cons. A big pro would be if you don't have the space indoors to start seeds. This is perfect because the seeds, you just rely upon Mother Nature. And when the seeds and Mother Nature get together and they both agree that it's time for them to germinate, they'll germinate. So that's a plus if you don't have the whole setup. I have a setup. I have room, I have grow lights, I have heat mats, I have starter cells and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm lucky. And so most of my vegetables this year, I'm going to start that way. But there are a few things that I want, that I don't have room to start downstairs. I want to start everything, but I want to do flowers. So I do have a few flowers that I would love to start. I'd like to start them indoors, but I'm afraid I just don't have room. So I'm going to put these in my pots, in my jugs for the winter sowing method and get them started outside. Two of these are perennials. So once I get them started and once I get them in the ground, I'll never have to plant them again. This one in particular, isn't that a gorgeous echinacea? I have purple ones. Another name is a purple coneflower, but they have lots of varieties. And I thought this was a particularly attractive one. But once they get going in your garden, they just self-seed almost everywhere. Or you can take the seeds and then put them in areas where you want them to grow. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do a couple flowers. I have a few more that I will get to next week or something like that. But this is the time to do it. When it's cold enough outside, there's not too many fluctuations in temperatures to trick the seeds. So most seeds want moisture and warmth to germinate. And in the winter, you got a lot of moisture, but oftentimes you don't have the heat. For sure. And so gradually your soil temperatures will heat up to the proper temperature at which one of these flowers, seeds, will germinate. They may both have different timetables. So that's why winter sowing is so cool, that you can just let nature germinate these seeds when they're ready. So I also want to talk about, there's a couple terms that you may have heard: scarification and stratification. These both have to pertain to getting a seed ready for germination. And some seeds require either or. Both of these. Scarification is where the seed coat will be roughed up or nicked or scratched or something like that. So it will then, because that seed coat is very hard, so then that seed coat will readily be able to take up moisture and germination can start in that plant. Stratification is and I think all seeds will go through a stratification. It has to do with the cold and the warmth. So when things are cold, the seed knows not to germinate. And when they are warm enough, then it will. Some seeds need to be cold. They need to have temperatures below freezing. And then when things warm up, that's when they germinate. So let's get into actually setting up our little pots for winter sowing. A lot of people use old milk jugs. This one's probably an apple cider jug. You can use even soda bottles, clear, amber colored, nothing that is totally opaque. You want a little bit of light to be able to get through. Essentially, you're making a little mini greenhouse out of this. So you're going to want some holes poked into the bottom. Don't need a drill or anything. I think I just used my cutter there, and I have 3 here with me. In our regular seed starting, we usually use a soilless mix. But in this case, these little seeds are going to germinate, and they're going to start sprouting up, and they're going to need more nourishment than what's in a soilless mix, because there's no nourishment in the soilless mix. So your little seedlings are going to stay in this till they have 2 pair, 3 pair, 4 pair of their true leaves on it, before you will be able to then transplant them out into the garden. So what I have is potting soil, and this is just a general all-purpose potting mix. If you like organic, do organic. This is just something that I don't even know what it is. It's been in this pot for a little while. So you're just going to fill this up. Pre-moistened is probably pretty good. I think in my last video I pre-moistened it. This isn't pre-moistened, but as the conditions change outside, you are going to get moisture coming in through this top. You don't need the hole here. You want moisture. You want an air exchange in this. So we're going to fill this up to close to the top line. This is hinged right here below. You can see right here below the handle here. Makes it really convenient. And then we're going to seal this off. This is probably good enough. There's a good 3 inches in here, and it is, just under probably an inch above or below this this line. Here we go, a little bit closer in. I'm just going to give this a little wet down here. There we go. Okay, you're going to plant your seeds at the depth of which are recommended on your seed packet. And this one, a seed depth of 1/8 of an inch. So that is barely below the surface of the soil. Now these are a good size seed here. I think I'm going to put in perhaps about 6 into my little winter sowing jug here. Or perhaps maybe I'll even do 9. I think I'll do that. I don't want to overcrowd them. This was one of the cons or the negatives that I saw in winter sowing. When you go to take these seedlings out of this container, the root structures are all interwoven with each other. So you would tend to have a problem with transplant shock of these seedlings. They aren't in their own individual cell or pot, so they won't have their own little root mass. The root masses are just kind of intertwined with everything else. So I'm just going to lightly press these down because it said 1/8 of an inch, so I'm not going to go too much more than that, or I'm not going to go more than that. Okay, firm it down and water it. All right, I'm not going to water it too much. One other thing, we're going to write on the outside of this container what's in here. That's important. It's very hard to tell when a seedling's very little what the actual plant is. So in addition to writing it on the jug, I am putting a label inside the jug, because outside the environment is going to wreak havoc with the label. I'm using a permanent marker. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be permanent after, when you get into May and the sun has been shining on it and the rain has been coming down. So I used a couple different tapes last year, and I found that the duct tape seems to work fairly well. I'll cut off small little pieces and line this up as best you can. Small little pieces just to hold it in place. This is what I found out that worked the best. And then run it around that seam. To hold it together. There we go. Okay. And a label on the outside. Go. And with the date. And that's all that you really have to do. Remember, no top is needed because you do want it to be able to get moisture in there. Check on this. When things are starting to get warm, you can peer right in the hole and see if you have anything green coming up. If there's condensation on the inside, there's plenty of moisture on the inside. Make sure you have holes in the bottom. You can either drill them or you can, spear them with something. If there's no condensation on the outside, then you're going to need to put in some water or something like that. You don't want these little seedlings in here to dry out. You don't want the seeds to dry out either, because they need moisture and they need warmth for germination. So that's my mini lesson on winter sowing. I would encourage you to try this. I think it's a brilliant method. It takes little to no preparation at all, and certainly you aren't investing a lot of time or money in the setup of this. They will, when the seedlings come up and whenever your last frost date hits, they will be ready to transplant out in your garden. You won't have to worry about hardening off or anything like that because they have been out. If you're getting very warm days, I may caution you that you should open these up a little bit. It will, this will act like a greenhouse, so it will get very warm in here. And you certainly don't want your little seedlings to fry. Anyway, so that's my little lesson on winter sowing. Check out the playlist I have on winter sowing. There's a little bit more information in that. And if you like this, give me a thumbs up. Comment down below. Let me know if you've winter sown your seeds and how you like it, and if you have any suggestions to offer to our audience. So until the next time that we can go digging in the dirt, happy gardening. Bye.